My name was Maximilian Mikuláš Diamant. I was born in Bratislava, Czechoslovakia, in my grandmother's house. We lived that time in Holocaust, which was about two hours from the main city, Bratislava. It was a small town, about 25,000. It had a very nice Jewish community, and we had a very nice life there. It was democracy in Czechoslovakia. The president was Thomas Masaryk, who was really an ideal president, and we loved him. This democracy was...
Tell me, I'm going to interrupt just to
Yes?
say, tell me about your family right now.
Yeah,
okay?
my family. My father was a big rancher. We had a big ranch on the outskirts of Lohovec, that little town, and I had a terrific childhood. When I was about 5 years, we had half of the house was rented to the army, and I had a very good friend there who was always caring for me, and I was much with him. It was the Czech army. After that,
Tell me about your mother. You had mother, a parent.
yeah,
some
my
sisters?
mother was a beautiful woman and really an angel. My father was a gentleman, a little bit like a gentry, but he always was for the little man. He was very social minded. We had a big farm and a lot of animals. The house was tremendous big. The front was about 500 feet front, and it went back about 600-800 feet back. In the back we had stables for horses, and we had prize bulls from the town, and we had carriages. My father did deliveries of building materials. We had big fields, corn fields and wheat fields, and we had 16 pair of horses. I had a terrific childhood. The town had a beautiful synagogue where we were playing as kids, and I had in my house a soccer team. I had my own soccer team as a child. It was really a beautiful childhood, but we had some problem. There was behind us, behind our house, was a small town. The town was very poor people behind it, and very backward people. And we had always fights with them. Especially there were religious fights. Yeah? Catholics against the Jews and so on, and evangelics against the Catholics and things like that. Always were always fights. So we had to be very careful. I learned early in my life how to be careful, really, because every time if I came home from school, the school was uptown and I was living downtown in this area, I had to be very careful that I don't get into a fight with somebody. Yeah? So I learned early in life how to take care of myself. It was a beautiful area. In front of us was a big river. It was called Vah. On this river were mills on pontoons. There were about 7 mills, one after the other, near each other, and milliners. For instance, it happens one day, for instance, we had a big flood. Every spring we had a big flood. And sometimes the flood was so high that our backyard was like a lake. So we took a wash stroke or something like that, and we were paddling with it in the backyard. Naturally, the horses and the animals had to be evacuated every springtime. We had a big barn uptown in a place, and so the animals were taken there, and we just stayed. Our apartment was a little bit higher located with few steps up, so we didn't get a flood into our apartment. The house was like a castle. It was 1 meter thick walls, solid brick, so that house could stand everything. There was no fear that the house would collapse or something like that from the floods. My father bought it from the local count. We had a castle not far, and the count was a friend of my father. My father was an expert on horses, riding horses and race horses. So he was buying the horses for the count. So he was very friendly with him. Sometimes my father took me to the count, to the castle, and I had a very good time there. The castle was beautiful, and we had a little buggy with a horse. He took me for a ride, and my sister too. We had a beautiful childhood. One day there was a big flood, like usually in springtime, and the water was coming almost to the top of the road. Between us and the river was a road, a highway. And it was very high, the water, almost to the road. And we were always standing there with my sister and watching it. Watching, because down the river were going even houses and big piles of straw and things like that. Yeah? And that day my parents went to the market for food uptown, and we were alone left. My sister was 6 years older, so she took care, like she was like a little mother to me. So we were standing at the river and watching the flood coming down, whatever was coming down. There were 7 mills, and the first mills, they were standing there, the milliners always catching stuff what was flowing down the river. And one of these things what they wanted to catch was flooding down a big pile of straw. They wanted to catch it and to dry it, you know, and to use it. But they didn't realize that the bottom was deeper and heavier than the top, and that hit the first mill. And the first mill tore off all the chains, yeah, the big chains and everything, and pushed into the next, and into the next, and the next, and next. All 7 mills with the milliners inside, with the people inside, were floating down the river. And down the river was a big steel bridge, and they hit the steel bridge and exploded everything. Nothing, was just a big cloud, a flower from the flower, and quiet, and nothing visible. All the milliners were gone. Naturally, that was a tremendous shock for everybody, and there were funerals. They found them later drowned, yeah, down the river somewhere, and there were funerals always. It was terrible. The other things, what was very important for me was I had a very good friend, an old retired millman, Mr. Hug. Mr. Hug was his name. He was always sitting at the edge of the river on a bench near a little shed, and he was always teaching me how to do work with how to carve things with a little knife, and he was telling me story, and he was teaching me. He was very experienced and very nice man, a beautiful looking old man, and that was a big influence for me.
What happened as you started to grow up?
We had a beach there. We used to go to the beach, and the whole town had all the boys and the girls together on the beach. With the time I had a boat, a paddle boat, and I used to take them across the river, and we were swimming in the middle of the river, down the river for miles. It was a very dangerous river, but we knew that river so well that it didn't bother us. The parents were always naturally leery about us. I was all summer long only in swimming trunks. I don't put on anything else because I was always on the river with our friends. So it was a really beautiful life. We had very good neighbors, for instance. The Brands, that was a good friend of mine, and Wally Brand was the girlfriend of my sister, and the next neighbors were the Halliger and Hertz. They had girls and boys, so we got together quite often. We were playing together. They had the Halligers had a big mill, lumber yard and lumber mill, and so we were playing there, hide and seek and things like that. So that life was there till 32. In 32 there was a big economical slump, especially agriculture, and my father lost a lot of money, so he decided to sell everything. We didn't sell the house. This house we were renting to a garage. It was a garage later. The other part was occupied by other family, the Pretzelmeyers, and we kept that apartment, but later we sold it. We moved to Bratislava, the main city, where we had my mother had there all her relatives, her mother, her aunts, her sisters. So the family lived there. So my father went, got a companion in a paper wholesale business with my uncle, and he worked very hard there. He was everything, shipping clerk and you name it, everything he was doing. He was working very hard. But after that, so we lived there till early. That was going on till the 38. I was studying. I was working part-time in my uncle's workshop as an electrician.
How old were you at that time?
I was a teenager. We moved to Bratislava when I was about 13. Yeah? And as I was going in high school there, starting there in high school, and after that it was a very normal time. So till 38. In 38 it started. We heard about the German, about Hitler, about the Crystal Night. We were shocked to hear about that all because our culture language was German. A lot of people were speaking German. We didn't believe that the Germans could do something like this, because we used to know the Germans as a culture nation. So it was a tremendous shock for us to hear all this. But it didn't affect us personally right there. I knew always what's anti-Semitism. I knew always, because there were a lot of anti-Semites in the town, wherever I was. Yeah? So that was nothing new to me, but we lived pretty comfortable near each other. And the country, the laws were democratic. So I had no complaints. But as I say, in 38 it started. We almost had a war. We thought we will have a war with Hitler. The Czechs were very good equipped, the army and everything, and we were willing to fight. But the President Masaryk died, and President Beneš took it over. He saw that it was fruitless to fight. It wouldn't be worth to fight the country with the Germans. So he gave up. It broke up. The Germans took off the Sudets, from Czechoslovakia, and the Czechs broke up and made it a protectorate with the President Hacha. Beneš died before that. He couldn't take that probably. And we had that. Everything started that time already. And the Slovaks switched and got in contact with the Germans, and the Germans made a sample state out of Slovakia. The president they took out from the prison Hlinka, and they made him president. And the Hlinka party was actually the fascist party, or the Slovak fascist party. It was a terrible time. They started to do with the Jews. Yeah, they took over the Jewish stores, the Hlinka party. They put in so-called arizators, and they just took over all the stores. Me, in 39, I was drafted to the army, to the Czech army, but that was exactly when they switched to the Slovak state. And the Slovaks put us in working camps, army working camps. The first camp was in Oremlás, which was used by the army, by the Czech army, as a maneuver place for the summer. There was barracks there, and all what we were doing there, we had to go out the roads in winter, in the biggest winter, and clean the roads from snow. They didn't have snow plows or something like that, so we did that work, the roads, the highways, to clean from snow. We were about 500 guys there, young Jewish guys, and it was a terrible place. 100 in a barrack, 100 guys with bunk beds, and one tiny little stove. We couldn't cook nothing. The meals, we were getting the meals at night. Early morning we got a coffee with a little piece of bread. At night we got the dinner, which was naturally no fancy stuff, but it was all cold, because that was actually the lunch. The lunch was the dinner. So, but we came home at night, so we had the cold lunch, the dinner. Some people could get to the stove to warm up that, but most of them ate it just cold, everything. With the time I got frozen feet, boils on my feet. So a few days I had to stay indoors. I couldn't go to work. I was sick. And so happens with many of them. We all got frost boils on our feet, and it was a terrible place. So that was the first winter. The summer, they transferred most of the guys of my colleagues there from the army to other places. They were sent mostly to Sabinov. That was a small town in the eastern Slovakia. I was still there because I was an expert electrician, so they kept me to fix up a movie house. The electric and the projection machines and so on to fix them up. But they were so old, all these things. There was a dynamo, or they call it here, I don't know, some kind of electric machine, a generator. I had to fix it. But that was impossible to fix because it was so old, so backward, that it was impossible. And parts were missing and so on, and the projector parts were missing. So I just took my time there. They didn't mind, they didn't care, they forgot about us there. We were there, a little group, just. But after that, finally they got to us, and they sent us to Sabinov. Sabinov, nobody was there anymore. They were sent already away to another place, to another camp. So they sent us to Liptovsky Svati Martin. That was a nice town, and we went there as normal army men, but working commando. The working commando was that, for instance, just we were a couple of guys. So one was a waiter, for instance. I was put in the weapons repair, where I repaired weapons. That was a pretty cushy job. I got food, normal food with the army, and normal barracks, with a normal bed, but we had to train with the rest of the army. But one day, the German army took it over, the commando, and they needed an interpreter from German to Slovak. So they asked me, so I volunteered. I will be the interpreter. I had a very good life. There was a very high officer, a German, from the Wehrmacht. He was very friendly to me because I spoke the only one German, and he couldn't speak with nobody else. And the same his wife. He was an old guy, but he had a very nice young wife. And I had to go with her shopping. I had to go horse riding with her. I had to help her with everything, because she couldn't speak one word in Slovak, and he couldn't speak a word. So in the morning, the exercises, the army exercises, I was interpreting to him, and afternoon, and so I had to go shopping with her and horse riding. So I had a pretty good life, as in the army you have, right? But that didn't last very long. Then I was transferred to Vrutki, which was a army depot, to clean the old uniforms. Yeah? It was an ugly place, all day long smelling these old uniforms. They were in mothball and so on. But that didn't last again too long, so they sent us from there to Čemerne, which was in eastern Slovakia. But that took a pretty long time until we got there. Meantime, we stopped places and we had a good time. So in Čemerne, it was terrible. Part of the camp was gypsies, yeah, who were taken there in working camp. We were doing nothing, just like in a concentration camp. It was a concentration camp. Before that, we were in Svati Martin. After Svati Martin, we were in Svati Petar. It was a little town too, but we were working there very hard. We were working bridges, roads, and stone mines, and airfields. That was a very nice place, picturesque, but it was high in the mountains, in the Tatras, and it was in winter freezing cold. And to work on the roads, it was terrible. We had to do earth moving, for instance, by hand. We had to do it with picks. The picks had to be sharpened every few minutes because the earth was like concrete. But we had to make a certain quantity earth moving. And so we had to do the same in a stone mine. A certain quantity of stone we had to break from the mine and bring it on little wheelbarrows and so to a certain place. It was horrible. But we had good food. We had the peasants there, the villages where we got good food, so that kept us going. And we got just stronger with it. We ate a lot of fat, pork and so on, to keep on going. The food in the army wasn't enough for that, to do hard work like that. But as I say, we had opportunity to buy things, food and so on. So I survived that very good. But in 1942, from Čemerne, we demobilized. And when I came home, there was starting transports to the concentration camps. Most of these guys who came home, like me in 1942, they were taken straight to the concentration camps, to Germany and any place else. Me, I was lucky. I was chosen as important economically because I was an electrician and the government needed experts. So they put me in charge as an electrician for they just started to build a new university. The government built that. So, but the university was located up on a mountain in a park, in a forest. They confiscated a forest from a old lady, a countess who owned it, and then they made a park out of it, and then they started to build. We had to do everything from scratch. We had to take out the trees, yeah, like lumberjacks. We had to do everything to take out the whole forest to make room for that new buildings, the foundations and so on. And they started to build that after we finished. Then I was a regular electrician. I had to bring the electric lights and everything in. They made temporary buildings for the office and so on, and workshops. And I was the electrician there. Then later we had 6 electricians, all Jewish boys who were electricians. It was a very hard job to work there, to do all the electric work. And on top of it, I had to be there every night because they were pouring cement at night, and I had to supervise the electric things and locate the electric lights all over wherever they were working. And it wasn't easy. And on top of it, I had to help with the payroll in the office, yeah, for the workers. There were about 300 workers there. Yeah. Everything was by hand. There were no machines like here. So I had to help with that too. Then one day everything was finished. We couldn't stay there anymore. We had to disappear. A lot of guys went to the partisans. Yeah, those were the Russians who were in the mountains, yeah, already against the Germans fighting. Yeah, guerrilla war. And some of our guys joined them. And we had a place where we had a little workshop for carpentry workshop with machines there, and we had a little dormitory there. And so some of these boys were hiding there because nobody knew that was far in the forest, the end of the property. And we made tunnels to hide under this workshop, to hide in these tunnels there if somebody would have come there. But it was a pretty safe place. We had bunk beds there, and as many as possible we were having there boys. I was hiding there for a while, and then later I couldn't stay there because it was too overcrowded. Too many people were there, and they had there a factory to falsify papers, you know, for the partisans.
This is under the ground?
Underground, yeah.
Can you tell me what that underground bunker looked like?
It was under this workshop, and they had a machine there to make papers, you know, government papers like false papers, yeah? Identifications and even passports we made there. But all kind of papers, everything we made there. And we had draftsmen who were copying all these legal papers and so on. So we had some very, very handy, very good experts there. And that was sent out to the partisans and to people who were hiding these papers. Now, one day there was no room for me. So one friend with me, we knew from our experience of working there on that ground that there was an old water reservoir that was not used. So that had a manhole on top. That's all what it was. A manhole, so we could open the manhole and climb into that water reservoir, and we were hiding there. And we had I had a cousin, a girl cousin, Gertie Schweiger. She was bringing us the food every night. Only by night we could get out. Because what happened? That place had a whole unit of German army there during that time already located. They confiscated, that was a palace from an old lady, a countess. They confiscated it for the German army. I don't know what they did with the old woman. Probably they got her to an old age house, and they took the army, the German army took that place. But that was an ideal hiding place, this whole ground, because everybody knew that there are the Germans there. Yeah? And the army didn't know that we are there, hiding. They didn't care. They didn't care about nothing. They only like army, you know. So that was for a while. We could do that. And afterwards, I came home. My parents, there were transports already going to concentration camps. My parents were kept a long time because my father worked in the kitchen where the Jewish kitchen where they supplied the transports with food and everything. For a while it was good. And we had food from there too. So it wasn't easy. Every day we were going transports, but we were, because my father was working in the kitchen, we were kept for a while safe. And then it started that these transports, and I told them, you better hide somewhere, because that will not go forever like this. Here you will not be able to keep it. We were all concentrated already in a ghetto, a long time. We had to be in a ghetto, all the Jews. So they had us already concentrated there. My mother didn't want to hide. My father wanted to hide in the country somewhere. He had friends between the peasants, and they would have hidden us. But my mother didn't want to go because the relatives were very prominent Jews in Bratislava. They were on the committees there, Jewish committee, and my mother thought they will know when to go to hiding. They will know what to do. They will protect us. But it didn't come out so. They were not protecting nobody. Nobody was protected. So I was hiding already. I was underground. In a house, it was a pension, an old pension, like a boarding house. It was an old woman, she kept it. She knew we were Jewish. She wasn't Jewish. She was a very nice woman. She knew we are Jewish, but we had papers different, not Jewish papers. So she thought it will be, she will be all right with that. The Germans were very dangerous for that too. It was very dangerous for her because they would brand her as a collaborator if they would know. So we were hiding there, about 3 or 4 Jewish boys with false papers, yeah. But I couldn't sit all day long home there. So one day I was going out. I was always going where big crowds were. There was a road not far from us, a street, the shopping street, where all the stores were and windows. So there were always big crowds, so I always blended there into the crowds, hopeful that nobody is going to recognize me, that nobody is going to catch me. Yeah? But it wasn't so. What happened, one day I was walking there and I see at a show window an old friend from the army. Yeah? I knew almost everybody because we were a pretty small group, so I knew almost everybody from the army. And there was a young man in a leather coat standing and watching in the showcase. Yeah? And I go to him, and that was my downfall. Because what I found out later, I didn't know it that time, but later I found out that he was caught by the Gestapo. Yeah? And to get out from the Gestapo, to be still alive, they told him he can do it only if he brings in some Jews, yeah, from the army. He knew, whoever he knew from the army, Jews, that he will give their names or just give them over to the Germans, to the Gestapo. And as soon as I got in touch with him there, he pretended he's very happy to see me and so on. Yeah, he looked good, a blonde guy with blue eyes. He looked like not a Jew. Yeah, but few minutes later, somebody grabbed me from the back. It was the Gestapo, and they pushed me into a standing car there. They were watching him, you know, with whom he gets in contact. And they pushed me into a car and took me to a center, which was once a Jewish house, apartment building, and that the Gestapo took over. So they pushed me there in. That was, there were a lot of Jewish young boys and girls waiting for a transport. That was already a concentration, a transport concentration place. The Gestapo was interrogating and trying to get names, you know, where they can pick up some other Jews, some other young men who were hiding, because everybody was already hiding that way, that time, because the transport were always finished. It was already 1943. Still going till the last minute, the transport. So what we did, that was an apartment, and I saw that there was a place where was a little room, and they had there a sign, no entrance, for nobody can enter the next room. There was a little room, like a corridor, and there was a door, and a guard, yeah, a SS guard was walking there with a rifle, watching that nobody should go in that little room there. But I thought there must be something important if they are watching that room. Huh? So when the guard went by, I ran over into that room. I opened the door, it was open, and nobody was in that room. And I looked out the window. I was looking for an escape situation. And I saw my escape situation. There was under the window. We were on the second floor. Yeah, and in the backyard, I saw a window. The window, looking out the window, I saw a little shack, a wood shack. And I saw that it wouldn't be hard to jump out the window on this shack, because that was higher than straight to earth. That would have been too high. So I figured out, I stayed there till night. When it got dark, everything was covered, the windows, yeah, because of the airplanes and so on. They had to have covers all the windows. So I opened the window, I jumped out at night. It was about 9 o'clock night. I jumped out and jumped on that shed roof. But I didn't know that that shed roof was all wooden planks, and that acted like a jumping board. And I jumped up, back, and fell down on the ground on my back, and I passed out. I got a terrible. When I woke up, I saw where I'm lying, and I was in terrible pain. So, but I know that I had to disappear. So I pushed myself into the wood shack, between the wood, and again fell unconscious. I don't know how long I was lying there, but when I woke up, I knew I had to get out from it. I had a terrible pain in my back, but I knew I had to get out from that place. So where was the place? There was a fence, yeah, a brick fence, but on top of the brick fence was wire. I don't know how you call this wire. You know, with this little, like on the front, you see, yeah, this wire mesh. So I jumped over that fence. I had that much strength that I jumped over the fence, but I didn't know what's on the other side. There was a big empty crate, a wooden crate, and I fell into that crate, and again passed out. I don't know how long I was there, lying. Again, I woke up. So I saw maybe I can get out. That was already the next house. So I tried to get out the door, but the door was closed. So I knew what I have to do, to jump the other fence to another house. Huh? The houses were like townhouses. So the next house was again like that, a fence, yeah, and I jumped over. A dog started to bark and came to me and wanted to eat me. What I did, I grabbed his mouth. It was a German Shepherd, I remember. It was a big dog, and I didn't have no other choice. I was desperate, yeah. I grabbed the dog by his mouth and pulled him to the door and tried to open the door, to run out from the door, yeah, the house door. It was open. Huh? So I pushed the dog back and ran through the door. There was another door on the other side. It was open too. But I had to be very careful because the street was patrolling the SS, yeah, with the rifles. So it was night. It was late night. I saw when the guard was going up the street, I ran out the other direction and ran through backyards, yeah, through little streets. I knew Bratislava very well, so I ran back to my place. I was in tremendous I had a tremendous pain in my back. So I lay down in bed and was lying for a month in this bed. And after a month, I got up and we had a little meeting with about 4 or 5 guys together to plan what to do next. Yeah? What was the news, what was going on, because we didn't know. So as we were having this meeting, I was the first day up. I was in my robe. Yeah? Suddenly, the door opens and 4 big SS guys in leather coats were standing there with their guns on us. Yeah, let's go. I had no choice, as I was, and as they were. We had to go. They put us in cars. Yeah, they took us again to this place. Yeah, there, but this time they knew already that we are trying to escape. So there was no escape there. But first of all, they wanted to know some other guys from us. So they took us one after the other for interrogation. The interrogation was terrible. I was standing in the middle, 4 SS guys were standing there and hitting us with their fists, with anything what they had at hand. They hit us and asked questions. I remember the last one took off the hanger, a wooden hanger, and hit me with that. I was all bloody. Then he couldn't get nothing out of me, so they took us out and they threw me in a deep cellar where just was a tiny little window. I don't know how long I was there because I was unconscious when they brought me there. And when I woke up, I was lying on a bench, on a plain bench. I was lying there, and a guy was over me and trying to wipe off my blood. But I didn't see him very well. Then later he came to the window. We were sitting there near the window, and I asked him question, who you are and what's your name and so on. He looked very weird. He looked very weird. A big guy, young, big husky guy, and he looked very weird. And I asked him, what time is it? And he takes out like a quarter, something like that, money, and looks at it and said, it's 8 o'clock or what? Yeah, some kind of a number. I look out the window, it was daylight. Yeah? So I saw there is something wrong with that guy. It came out he was taken from the institute by the Germans, yeah, by the Gestapo. He was a Jewish guy. He was taken from a mental institute. He was a cook there, yeah? And he was brought. So he was sitting there, and I couldn't talk to him. He was out of it, and I was scared. I was scared what will happen with this guy there. So then I started, he had some normal moments. So I asked him, who are you, what's your name? And he told me his name. He was Stern, I think so was his name. And I said to him, I was in the army with a young guy by the same name. And he said to me, oh, you must have been with Hansi, my brother Hansi. Yeah? Hans. I said, yes. From that moment, he kissed me. He talked, tell me about him, everything. Yeah? He had some normal moments. Yeah? he was glad he saw me, and that he spoke with me, that he knew that his brother was alive. Huh? He thought so, his brother was alive. I don't think so he was alive. But I didn't want to tell him what's going on. He didn't know everything. So I was there about 2 or 3 nights. He went with me together. I couldn't escape from there. They took me out just straight into the transport. Yeah? The transport was covered up, yeah, in covered wagons, you know, these trains, and that was it. We were going to Sered. Sered was still in Slovakia. It was a Sammellager. It was a camp where they brought in just everybody, and from there the transport were going to Germany and so on. Yeah? It was still in Slovakia.
I think this is a good place to stop and break and change tapes.
Yeah.
And then you can tell me
Okay.
about some.
All right. Fine.
Okay. Okay.
And that was.
It's fun. It is fun. It's
Okay.
very good. Tape is on. Okay, tape is on. Can you describe that transport to Sered? What was that ride like?
Yes. So they put us with other people into a train, a closed truck. We were about 70 in one truck. And the transport was going only to Sered, which wasn't too far. And there we got out into a other camp. It was an old military camp, and there were barracks there, and we got there our place in the barracks, our bunk beds, and the food was still pretty good there, because the Jewish agency was supplying it with food. So we were staying there until they had ready transports the Germans to Germany, until they put together a train transport.
What was Sered like, that camp?
That camp wasn't bad, because it was actually just a Sammel camp. That means just concentrating people. I had there some friends in the workshops who told me, when you will get to the transport, like few transport ahead of you, the young men, they jumped off the trains and escaped to the partisans. Some of them got through, some of them were caught. So that's your only hope, what you can do. They supplied us from the workshops with blades and drills, things like that, which we put into our shoes, building into our shoes, and they told us, when you go to the transport, you should put this with you, take this with you, put on 3 or 4 jackets and clothing, everything on you, nothing in your hands, because you will jump. And to minimize the injury, you put on as many as possible coats and jackets and suits and so on. So really, it came to it. I didn't think, but it came to it that there was a transport going to Germany, and they put us on the transport. Again, in closed trucks. We were going at night. Everything was going at night. They were everything doing all these things at night because they didn't like the population to see that, what was going on. So we got into one of all the young guys' friends together. we got together into one truck, and we figured out we will cut out the lock and jump out when the train will slow down a little bit. Yeah? And so it happens. It was at night. We cut out the door. Yeah? I helped, he helped, and so on. We changed, and we cut out the lock. But before the end that we should throw out the lock, we kept it like that. You know, it looked like it would be still on the lock, but it was already cut out, almost to the point where it will fall out, the whole lock. Suddenly, the train stopped. Yeah, it was a little station in Slovakia still, somewhere in Nové Mesto or where it was, I don't know exactly, on the way to Germany. And right away the SS who was going with us, with the rifles, they were patrolling, looking all the cars, the locks, because they had the experience already. And they saw that our lock is cut out. They opened the truck and all out, all towards the wall. So I said myself, that's it. They put us on the wall. Every tent will be shot dead. They put us on the wall, and who knows who is the tent, how they will start to this. Really, every tent they shot dead. Every tent. That was the first time I saw they are not joking. And the rest, I was left. Some other friends were there. They were dead already. The rest they put into the first car. That was a Panzer car. No food, no nothing. Not even water. They put us there, dark. Just a tiny little window was on top of the Panzer car and nothing else. We were going for 3 days without food, without drinking water, without anything. Closed up, about 12 or 15 guys we were there. So we were going until we stopped one day at night, naturally. We stopped in Sachsenhausen. I didn't know right away where we were, naturally, but I knew we must be in Germany. Sachsenhausen, the first impression, everybody out from these trucks, and everybody in five people in one row, and that will be like soldiers. And they were surrounding us with dogs, German shepherds, and SS, standing with rifles on us, trained. And we saw far away from the trucks, we saw a big camp with a big door lit up with lights lit up. And they told us we will march there. So we were marching there to that door, to that big door. We marched into the camp. That was Sachsenhausen. First impression was, I saw running around there, it was night, I saw barracks there, I saw people running around, some, not too many, but some running around, probably couples, in these uniforms. I was so naive that time that I thought those are pajamas, because it was night, that they have their pajamas, And then there were slogans on the barracks written, Arbeit macht frei, work makes you free, things like that, slogans were there. So I was pretty good impressed. I thought we will be in a working camp, working. But they brought us first into a place. It looked like a factory, like a broken down factory, the sauna. The sauna was a place where the disinfecting station was a disinfecting station. Whatever we had with us, what we were carrying with us, they took away everything. We had to strip completely, and they were checking us out completely if we don't hide something, gold or jewelry or something like that. And they took us in a very cold room. I was freezing, all naked. And there they were a whole group of barbers, and they stripped our hair completely, all over. And we had, the next step was to go into a pool, a stinking pool with sulfur acid or what was there, some kind of a sulfuric things, because it stank terrible. And that was the disinfection. We had to go into that pool and submerge a few times completely, and that was the disinfection. After that, we had to go under a shower, and they gave us a towel, a rag, and a piece of soap. After that, after the showers, it was cold, freezing there. That was not heated, nothing. We were all naked. After that, they brought us in a place where they gave us these uniforms, the striped prisoner uniforms. Then we knew what it is, and nothing else. All our clothing, civil clothing, and everything was gone. They kept it, the Germans. So I was there in a quarantine. The first thing was to put us in a quarantine. Always the first 2 weeks, wherever you came from, you were in a quarantine, because the Germans were terribly afraid about sicknesses, about epidemics and things like that, because of for their own purposes. So I was there in Sachsenhausen about 2 weeks, the quarantine. After the quarantine, we had to march at night through a town, I think so it was Sachsenhausen or so, to a town, to Heinkelwerke. It was a terrible place, Heinkelwerke. It was nothing there, no food, we didn't get their food. It was in a hangar, in an airplane hangar. They pushed us there in, and there were some bunk beds in these hangars. The hangar was cold like ice, but we had to stay there. We thought maybe we would be working in the factory there. That was the Heinkelwerke, the airplane factory. So I didn't think about nothing. But we were there for 2 or 3 weeks, nothing happened. We were just in the barracks there, and we got hardly food. So it was terrible. From there, they took us to the transport, again to a transport. Put us in these trucks, in the railroad trucks, and they took us to Buchenwald. Buchenwald again started the same thing with a disinfection station, and the quarantine, for 2 weeks in this quarantine. After the 2 weeks were off, they took us to the regular camp, what they had, for work. So I was very satisfied, very happy. At least some work to do, and maybe we will get better food, because when you work, you have to get food. So really, they took us out one bed. But first of all, the barracks were already better, a little better, and the food was right away a little better too. And we got some money, lager money. It was their own made-up currency. which when you worked, every week you got a certain salary. It depends what kind of work you were working. And for that you could buy in a canteen there, let's say a beer or something, yeah, something, soda or something like that for the whole week's salary naturally. Yeah? So, but it was something already, after all. So I was working in a detail, go out of the lager, out on a road, doing the ditches on the road, cleaning the ditches, making new ditches, the highways, and so on. Naturally, they were watching us very carefully with the SS, with the rifles trained on us, and with the dogs, yeah, with the German shepherds watching us. It was very nice. There, some people escaped, I heard, but we never heard about them. Yeah? So there I was just a short time. After that, they took us to Saxon, from Buchenwald we went to Bergen-Belsen. Bergen-Belsen. That was a terrible place. That was terrible. First of all, it depends in what lager you were. There were different lagers in the lager, in the concentration camp. There was, for instance, a lager where privileged Jews were, so-called, which were had relatives in America also, and they sent them money, and they paid the money to the SS or to whomever, yeah? And that's how they survived there. And they had maybe opportunity to go even out from the country. And that was really privileged people, a handful. That was a small lager with families and so on, very, very prominent people and so on. But I was just a plain schnook, so I had to go through again the sauna, yeah, the disinfection station, and then after that the quarantine. The quarantine was terrible. The quarantine was made that way that more people should die as possible. It was a big room, open room with a concrete floor, and everybody was sleeping on that concrete floor. We got one blanket, an old one, and we had to sleep on that concrete floor. So it was terrible. The food, just to survive that, a lot of people were dying there because they were already weak anyway. They didn't have food. So a lot of people were dying there already. I discovered there a friend of mine. He was already on the end. Strong guy, strong, beautiful guy. And I told him, stay alive, try to survive. He had no guts anymore to fight. Yeah? He couldn't fight anymore. I tried to give him a little soup. When I got the soup, for instance, a little warm soup, I pushed it into his mouth. He didn't want to take it anymore. He wanted to die. He wanted to die. And so, but I didn't want to die. I had the survival instinct. No matter what, I had to live. So what happened? They were bringing food in 50 liter or so containers, open containers. They were Russian prisoners, Russian army prisoners. They were in the kitchen there, and they were distributing the food in big containers. What was the food? It was a vegetable soup, but better than nothing. But what they did on the way to where they were supposed to hand out the food, they stole one of the containers. So there were one container less, and they knew that will not be enough. They stole it and they sold it for money or gold to some other place, yeah, some other prisoners, I don't know where, yeah. And so what they did, they put down these 2 containers and told everybody, get it yourself. So what happened? Everybody ran and grabbed some soup from there, and so far that you couldn't get even to it because everybody was fighting. So they tipped over the whole container on the floor, and who is going to eat it from the floor, cold and everything, yeah? And that was the only food what we got. So what I did, just thinking for survival, what I did, I picked up the vegetables, the cold vegetables from the floor, went to the bathroom and washed the whole vegetables and everything under the water pipe and ate it, cold, whatever, just to survive. Yeah? I survived it so far. But then they put us in the regular barracks. And then there was a sick barrack. The sick barrack didn't help nothing. I was sick, for instance. I went to the sick place, yeah, to the so-called hospital or what it was. Yeah, what they gave you a placebo, yeah, in every color, or they gave you charcoal, little pieces of charcoal. What did I do? I ate it. I ate it just to survive. For instance, I found an old toothpaste lying on the ground somewhere. I opened it up. I ate the toothpaste. Yeah, what was inside. For instance, there was grass. Yeah, I mean wild grass, crabgrass. I pulled out the crabgrass and ate the roots, wherever, whatever, just to survive. And there was other place, other barrack, where all the sick people were going. Yeah? When you were sick and you couldn't go to work, which there wasn't work really, you had to go to this barrack, the sick people. What was the barrack? Concrete floor, straw, some plain straw on the side of the barrack in the middle walkway, and they were lying there and waiting to die. Yeah? Then in front of it, or in the back of it, was a big pile of dead bodies. Yeah? All like skeletons. If I saw that, I knew what's waiting for me, naturally. But it didn't happen that way. I didn't stay there long, because if I would have stayed there long, that was a terrible place. Just to see that. Yeah? First of all, we were walking just like zombies. We were walking. I was already skin and bone. Already that time. We were walking there and walking all day long, just asking for situation reports from the front, or also what's going on. It was late. It was in 43, yeah, already, and nothing. We didn't know nothing. And one day they came, took us with big trucks away. We were going in a transport, I don't know how long, in covered trucks, with a guard in the truck. We were going to Hamburg, Neugamme. There they told us we will be working there. It was a factory, an old factory building. It was like a warehouse, something like that. There were bunk beds, and I was there. I don't know how long we were there. I met an old childhood friend there by accident. He recognized me. It was Herman. His name was Herman. He was a child. He was completely finished with his nerves. He was crying and asking me I should save him. I should save him. I said, my God, I cannot save myself. How can I save him? Huh? And a few times we saw each other, and he was happy to see me. Yeah? and then he disappeared. I don't know what happened to him. Huh? I never found out what happened to him. So from there, we were going to Mauthausen. And Mauthausen was terrible too. It was just terrible. I couldn't get food there. I couldn't work. Nothing. We were there going through the process, the quarantine and everything, and that weakened us even more, and we got very bad food, or we didn't get food at all. It was terrible. The hygienes were terrible. We had very bad bathrooms and everything. Everything was cold water. There was no warm water, never. So I don't know how I survived that. Then we were in another camp.
Did you work in Mauthausen at all?
No, nowhere. I didn't work. The only place I started to work a little bit was in Buchenwald. They didn't need us. There was already, they were evacuating everything. They were losing the war. The Russians were coming. They were running from the front. They were running with us. They were always pushing us further and further. They were running to the Americans, not to the Russians. So they were always running from the Russians. And they took us with them and trapped. We were going, I remember once, they put us in a lager. It was a new army camp, but it was empty. And why it was empty, I found out later. It was all loused up, full with lice, and they put us there. Naturally, everybody got lice, and we were dying like flies. And then what they did, they wanted to make us to work. So they took us every morning at 5 o'clock. We had to get up. Appel was where we had to count everybody. They were doing the count of everybody. Had to stay in rows like soldiers, and they marched us every morning through a town. I don't know even what was the name of the town, to a station, a railroad station, a little one. And there in the railroad station, there were old locomotives, all engines. And we had to clean these engines and prepare them, because they were rusty, prepare them to use them, because they were out of engines. They were bumped, the railroads. Besides that, we had to carry the railroad trucks. We had to carry to where they were bombed out, where they were repairing them, from a forest to this place, to the station. What was that? We were carrying 6 people, 6 meager people. I mean, we had to carry a big railroad truck. I don't know how many feet it was long, but it was very heavy, even for 6 people, 3 on one end, 3 on the other end. It was murder. I saw if I will do that with this food what we had, I couldn't survive it. And really, every day a few people just dropped dead. And I saw that, my God, I have to do something. So the first opportunity came. They were looking for a guy who knew how to handle an engine, a steam engine, a locomotive. I thought myself, what can happen? Just to get out of it. I said I can handle a machine, like that. I was technically always inclined. I was in engineering school and so on. I knew the principles and so on. So they took us into a forest where all these old engines were rusting there, and they told us any engine which will be fixed up, we should try out. Huh? The tryout was that we had to bring it to a SS man, the engine, from the forest. I mean, it was on trucks, but old trucks. We had to bring it to the SS commander and go a stretch. And if we made it, if we made the test, he told us to go forwards, to go backwards, and so on. Then we will be accepted as railroad engineers. All right, so I tried my best, but in the meantime I tried really to find out what's about it, how to work it. There was a Russian young guy, a Russian prisoner, not Jewish. I found out that he was really in a factory on an engine. He was going in the factory with the engine. So I asked him all the details, how to handle these engines. And it happened that I tried out and it was working. It was working. So now came again the test. One guy in front of me, watch it, came to the test. I knew he was an engineer. I knew. But what happened is these engines were old and rusty, and he couldn't move that handle. And he got stuck somewhere. He couldn't come back. The guy, the SS man ran after him, and shot him right there on the spot. So when I saw that, I wasn't sure I will not be shot either. But luckily, the engine was going. I could do everything. It was a better engine. So I got through the test. The next time, I was getting better food. I got better place, in the barracks, and I was doing the job every morning, coming there with the whole group to that place and picking up the engine and taking materials, railroad trucks and all these things to a factory, about a 15-mile truck. I had two civilians. They were doing the other things on the engine. They were my assistants, but actually I was their assistants officially. They were in charge of the water and the coal for the steam engine. So when I came in the morning, so everything was prepared already, and I had to ask them always, did you prepare everything? It says the engine, everything okay? Did you check out everything? Yes, everything okay, there is water, everything. I spoke German, so that was helping me, So I went on a stretch like usual, and I got stuck. The engine was overheated, I didn't have enough water in the engine. And right away came coming on a car, a railroad car, the SS guy, and the commander. What happens? What happens? I said, they didn't put in enough water. I had to let off all the steam and everything from the engine because we don't have water. Oh, you don't tell that the German civilians did that they didn't put in water? I said, yes. That was enough for him. He pulled out his gun and showed it to me. He said to me, oh, that's too good for you. That's too good for you. I will take care of you. I thought he will take care of me. I didn't know. Huh? Yeah, he put me on in a place, in a jail, in the lager. Yeah? No food. I had to die hunger. That's what he said. You will die hunger. I didn't need much more. Huh? But what it is, the others didn't know about it. The other commanders and so on. Only this one. And I thought, I looked terrible already. I was quite down. And I said that I had before TB, tuberculosis. So if I can go to the hospital. I asked the hospital. Huh? So I got out to the hospital. And I made believe that I have tuberculosis. They didn't have x-rays and nothing, so I just made believe that I am coughing and I am full. Yeah? A cold I had always anyway, so I could make very easily believe I have a tuberculosis. And I looked it too. Yeah? So they put me into the sick bay. That was a barrack where all the sick were. Again, it was the same thing as in before I told you. Again, a barrack with a concrete floor, on the side straw, and all the sick were lying there. Whoever stayed alive, whoever could go for food, yeah, they brought a container, whoever could go for food survived, whoever couldn't get up, he died there, a slow death. Yeah? So it was terrible. But what happened one day, the war was getting to end, and there was I saw on the side there was a transport of German army, a convoy going on the highway, not far from the camp.
Which camp were you in now?
I don't know what camp it was. It was somewhere, I think so, in Württemberg, because it had just a number. It didn't have a name. It had just a number. And what happened there, I saw this convoy, and suddenly I saw airplanes, bombers, English bombers came and started to bomb that convoy. But it was very close to the camp, and the camp started to get bombs. And from the pressure, from the shrapnels and everything, I flew into one corner of the barrack, yeah, of the barrack, and a big plate, a table plate, flew right on me, yeah, and covered that corner. And that saved my life from the shrapnels. Yeah? I survived it. A lot of dead were there, a lot of dead. And whoever was there alive, they made a quickly to evacuate us. Everybody out, everybody stand up, and they brought a train, an open train, a coal train. Yeah? It was usually used for coal, and they put us in the open trains. Everybody who survived. It was terrible. It was already in '44. It was already starting to be summer. It was sometimes in spring. And during the day, these open cars were hot like hell. The sun was shining on us. And at night, it was again too cold. We were freezing. It was terrible, but we were about 50 or how many in one of these trucks, so we huddled together just to keep warm during the night. And the food was terrible. They didn't have themselves already, the German army, much food. So that was the German army. So they took us already with them to evacuate. And what they had, only conserves with beets, red beets, sliced beets. That was the only food. And when they let us out, when they stopped somewhere, because they had to stop because some of these trucks were bombed out, so until they fixed them, we had to stop. So when we stopped, they let us down from the truck, but they were watching us with the machine guns and everything. So I tried always to take out some roots from grass and eat them, just to survive, because that wasn't enough. We got water, that's all what we got. But not always water either. So one day it was very hot. We were about 14 days on this trip, all up and down going over Germany. I don't know where we were. You know, as the war was going, as they were running. So that's how they took us, with the transport. And it was terrible. It was hot one day, noontime, and we didn't have water. There was no water. Now I saw there were people, German civilians, repairing the trucks, right, the other trucks. And they were about 30, 40 feet away. And I saw they have there a pail with water with a little thing, cup for drinking. So I told myself, what can happen? I will die this way or that way or from thirst. I was terribly thirsty. People were dying there from thirst. So I jumped out from the car and ran to that pail and drank that water. Actually, the guard right away the gun, but he couldn't shoot on me because I was between the civilians there. He would have shot a civilian. And I ran back, so he couldn't do nothing. But the only thing what he did, he hit me with his butt, with his rifle butt good on my head, so that I was knocked out for I don't know how long. Which didn't do me good. I had a big bump. But I survived it. I survived it. And next time, what was it? Bergen-Belsen? No, I think so. It was Bergen-Belsen. Or was it? Yeah, that was the last one. I think so.
You had said Bergen-Belsen.
Did I say before? Yeah?
No. You were in one more camp? No.
Yeah, one more camp they took us. We came nights there. I didn't know even what it was. We came at night, and it was a big camp. And we had to get off into the camp. We passed the kitchen, and at the kitchen, in front of the kitchen, there was lying potato peels. You know, what they peeled off the dirty potatoes, you know. We were so hungry that we ran to this potato peel and grabbed as many as we could, these potato peels, and ate them. Dirty, no dirt, whatever it was, yeah, just to survive. Yeah? It was terrible. It was a terrible camp. Again, through all this procedure, I found out that 2 of my uncles died in that camp because I met there a good friend who survived them, yeah, who survived until I came there. But he was in pretty shape too, very bad shape too. And so we were there, I don't know how many weeks we were there, just surviving. We got there some food, some bread, sometimes, yeah? But not all the time. So we survived somehow there. One day we hear the Russian guns. At night you could hear already the Russian guns were coming closer and closer. The sky was red. We were starting to be very happy. You know, what's happening? We knew that what's happening. And the Germans were very, very concerned about that. They felt already that it's getting to the end. So one day they made at night a appel, and we were in rows standing, and as we were standing, march. We were marching by a big warehouse, a German warehouse. And you know what was in that warehouse? Care packages from America. They kept it there, you know, they didn't give it to us all the time. These warehouses were full with packages, with care packages. When we got there out, because they were evacuating us actually, yeah? We didn't know that, but it was the evacuation. They gave everybody 2 care packages to carry with him. So we were very happy, but to carry that with our bodies, you know, weakened, it was terrible. It was an ordeal. We were marching and marching and marching, and you had to be in line, because if you were not in line, if you stayed behind, they just shot you dead. Everybody who stayed behind, who couldn't walk, was shot dead by the SS. The SS was going with us. I don't know how long we were walking. My feet were all bloody, because what did I have? I had wooden soles and material top, yeah. So I could hardly walk in there. And we had to march. We had to stay in line, and we had to go. Finally, sometimes noontime, it was very hot already. We had to rest. The rest was on an open field near a river. And we were very thirsty, so we ran to the river and took with our, we had that you know, this, you know, like a ration. We had that and with us, so I ran to the river and drank the water. And that was polluted water. So after an hour or so sitting there, I started to get very sick. And so others too, so some others. And I knew if I stay here, I couldn't get up. If I stay here, I will be shot dead, because everybody who stayed behind, the SS shot. So I was standing there, but I was lucky, because that time there was a unit of regular army in a village there nearby. And they heard that we have care packages, yeah? And they wanted the cigarettes. And they came with a carriage and tea, yeah, tea. They came and said to the SS men, "You are not going to shoot anybody anymore, you go." And they took all the, whoever could walk, they took, and I couldn't walk anymore. Whoever stayed there, the sick people, they gave everybody tea, yeah? The regular army. And they told us, no more shooting. They couldn't, because they would have gotten into a fight with the regular army, the SS. So they couldn't shoot us. So we survived there. We gave them cigarettes, yeah? And they told us, we will take you to the village and we will hide you there. You will give the peasants some things from your package, and they will keep you there. They will give you food and everything. So really, one carriage came to me and put me on a covered wagon, army wagon, and they took me to the village. It was a nice little village, and they took me, two guys, we were together. He was a German, I just spoke German. So they took us to a peasant, and we told him that we will give him soap, American soap, if he would give us some food and give us some lodging. So he said, okay, I will hide you here. He put us into an empty pig pen, and he brought us some potato soup, Yeah? And we gave him every time he came, we gave him a piece of soap. So we were there hiding. I don't know how long we were there, just a few days. They said they cannot keep us here because the SS is coming and so on, and there are other transports going like our transport. They will try to put us sick people on a baggage store, because after every transport, the walking transport was going a carriage with all the luggage of the capos and the SS men and so on. They were pulling it. Prisoners were pulling it. Yeah? So they said they will try to put me on a baggage, this little carriage. So they put me really to a transport on a baggage, luggage, this carriage, and I had to give the prisoners always cigarettes that they should carry me. But I was feeling already very bad. I was losing completely my conscience. I was falling like in a coma. I was very sick. I later found out I had stomach typhoid, and terrible dysentery and everything. I was very sick. A few days and I would have been gone. But so they were carrying me every time I gave them a cigarette. I want a cigarette. Can I have a cigarette? Cigarette, cigarette, cigarette. Until I ran out of cigarette. And I ran out of food, of everything. The carriage, the care packages, I ran out of everything, with the time. And the food didn't do us good, these conserves from the care packages, because we didn't have bread. And to eat these conserves and everything without bread, that for our weak stomachs, that was even worse. That make us even more sick. So when I gave up all my care packages to these prisoners who were pulling that carriage with the luggage and me, they just stopped one day and just threw me off the carriage into a ditch near the road. And I was lying there half dead, because I was most of the time unconscious. I was already in such a state that I saw, unconsciously, I saw a white tunnel with a white light on the end. And I know, somehow I felt that if I get to the end of the tunnel, I will be dead. I felt that somehow. So I picked myself up and was watching the road. And they were running, the army was gone already, the Germans. The civilians were running from the Russians in carriages with horses, horse-driven carriages, covered wagons. They were running there, and it was already getting late. The Russians, you could hear the Russian guns. And I didn't know what to want. Nobody wanted to take me on these carriages with him to run from the front, to run. Finally, on the end, there were just single carriages going with these covered carriages with one single horse. I saw an old couple. And I said to me, that's my last chance. I jumped out from the ditch, caught the horse muzzle, and I told them, if you don't take me with you to the next village, I don't let you go. They were scared of me. Those were old people, a very old couple, and I looked terrible in the prisoner garb, so they knew who I am. So they agreed that I should sit down in the back. They will take me to the next village, but only to the next village, because the horse cannot take more. So they really took me to the next village. At the road there was a big old restaurant, and I got there and I saw there were a lot of women from concentration camps. They were there from all kind of concentration camps on the way to evacuating. They got lost there. The SS was running, the army was running, so they left them there. There was a big, like an auditorium, old, very old, junky. There were straw on the ground, and they put me there. And I wanted to eat something. So one day I go, there was a big kitchen and an open stove. And they were cooking their soups and food for themselves, these women. So I sit down near the stove just to get warm. And I hear talking to the one of the women to the other, give this old man a little warm soup. This old man, give him a little warm soup. I must have looked terrible. Yeah? I was in my early 20s, an old man. So he gave me a little food, a little this. It was very good, but I was very sick. So they put me again there into that auditorium there on the straw lying, and suddenly we heard the Russians coming, the shrapnels, the guns were, you could hear, yeah. I knew that was at the main road, so the Russians will come there, they will bomb this whole place. So the women ran away already, they ran all over to the village, deep into the village, and they left me there alone. I was, I think so, the only one left there. So if I saw that and I saw starting to hear the guns, if I will lie here, I can be killed here from the front. The front will go through. So I crawled on my floor with my last strength. I crawled deeper into the village, about 300 feet or how much was a peasant, a farm. And I thought I'd go in, no matter what, into the farm. I opened the door, there was an apartment and nobody in. The peasants were gone. So I opened one door after the other. One was a bedroom. I saw there a bed, an open bed with a big down cover. I lie down into that bed and covered myself over my head, and I lost my conscience. I don't know how long I was lying there and how long it was, but I woke up suddenly. I took off my, somebody pulled the cover off my head, and a Russian soldier with a Kalashnikov trained on me. Who are you? Where are you? What are you? I showed him the prisoner garb. I'm a prisoner. What country? I said, Czechoslovak. Oh, we are friends. We are friends. Good. Don't worry about nothing. I will get you. I said, I am sick. I'm sick. I'm from concentration camp. Oh, we will help you. Don't worry nothing. And he left. Yeah? Then I opened my eyes. See, the roof had a hole. All the brick and everything was on the pillows, on the cover. Yeah. It was terrible.
We have about 1 minute left. Was that your liberation?
That was my liberation. Yes. But I had a lot of troubles with the Germans, with the Russian soldiers. I tried. There were 7 children and 3 women hiding. The old woman, the old German woman, put me on my feet. Really, she helped me. Yeah, she gave me food and everything, and brought me up. Really. And then I helped them. I helped them a lot. I brought them food from the Russians. I kept the 7 children alive and the whole family alive. Even 2 teenagers who were hiding from the Russians, I kept alive. I brought them food. Germans. I said always, I will revenge myself when I come out. I will kill all the Germans. No, I didn't have it in me. I couldn't do it. I saved them. I saved them from the Russians. The Russians wanted to kill them. Yeah? I saved them because I interpreted from German to Russians, yeah, a little bit. So I tried to protect them. Yeah, you are protecting the Germans. We will kill you. We will hang you. Next day we will come, we will hang you. Other day, other one came, brought me a bicycle. Yeah? You good boy, I bring you a bicycle. Brought me a bicycle, next day he took away the bicycle. The third day came at night a guy, yeah, a soldier, and he knew that the officer nearby in the other bedroom was leaving. He brought from somewhere wine. So he knew that. He came in, a plain soldier, yeah, a peasant. He goes straight there. And this officer told me, don't let nobody in there. I said to him, don't go there. The officer said, nobody can go there. But he said to me, you are telling me that he pulls out his bayonet, yeah, his knife, and puts it like that to me. I said, what do you want from me? I am a sick man. I am just telling you what the officer said. You don't tell a Russian soldier nothing. Yeah? He went in straight in and picked up all the bottles, yeah, and drank them. And then the officer came home and he almost killed me. Yeah?
Okay, we have to stop.
Yeah.
I want to thank you very much.
Okay, fine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dunn.
All right. I hope it hit the point.
It hit the point very much indeed.
Yeah.
Mike, let's stop take. Do we have a minute left or 2 minutes for photos? Okay, then we can do, we'll get 2 photos that I'll show.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope it will.
Okay, stand by a minute.
Look at me.
These are my parents in 1943, just before they were taken to a concentration camp to Auschwitz, where they were gassed.
Okay, why don't you pause the tape? Square, beautiful.
What's that?
Your house.
Oh yeah.
By the river.
What should I say about that?
It's the building on the left, right?
Yeah.
You said this is
Yeah.
the house where I grew
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
By the river in my town.
Yeah. It's amazing how you can enlarge it.
Is
Amazing.
this house in the corner here on the left?
Yeah,
side?
yeah.
That one, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put it-
With a big door and the mills there.
Yeah, that's
Is
great.
that all right?
It's wonderful. Move it down here so that the writing is that we don't need to write it.
You don't want to write.
You see, even the
It's all
castle
the
you
closer
can
that I
see.
can get.
Okay, then leave it alone. Don't touch it.
Without
You're
moving,
fine.
no.
Without moving, yeah, 'cause we want this and this and too. Okay, right there. Perfect.
How's that look, Mike?
Fine.
Okay. Yeah, hang on a minute.